this is a trigger warning to let you know that we will be talking about sexual assault today and other such themes. Hey guys, so today is not my usual video, and I really did want my channel to just be makeup videos until I started to realize that it really was my kind of space to basically share myself and speak my mind. And you know, if my friends are busy, then I'm like, okay, well, I'll make a YouTube video and I'll just do my makeup. But something hit me the other day, and it was, I have a voice, and I know I'm not Ariel, but it made me realize I was going through Instagram and I see a lot of trigger warnings. So we'll put one before I even start talking in this video when I do edit. But I want to talk about sexual assault. So as you can tell by the title of the video, I am a victim of sexual assault, but I believe the correct term is molestation, and that has to do with a family member sexually assaulting, most likely repeatedly, like a minor, so someone that's under them. So that could be like an uncle and a niece, or a father and a daughter, or a mother and a son. It could be really anyone. There are so many stories. So I just wanted to share mine and give some insight because it could help a lot of people. I know that if I was able or had access to the internet like I did now, then it probably would have prompted me to speak out a lot sooner. So yeah, let's get on with the details. And I'm sorry, this is a really sensitive subject, so if the trigger warning didn't stop you now, like before this should be your time to stop now. So yeah. So, I can't really pinpoint exactly when everything started, but my full consciousness and me knowing, or kind of being able to know what was happening, was in 2008. I was in 5th grade, I believe. I was in 5th grade, and it was before this, like the STAR test, which we used to call it tax test back then. We were in Texas, by the way. And basically, I had run away, and we were living, me being my sister, my mother, and my one brother at the time, in a very abusive household. And my father had always been abusive. I was currently living with my stepmother at the time, who is very dear to my heart, and I consider her like my real mother. So if I do say my mom, that's who I'm referring to. He had always been abusive, even when we were younger, and we were living with my biological mother in upstate, like Minnesota. So, excuse me. We had always been, you know, like, I guess the right term is beat, because it would be to the point where he would just come home angry or get mad over something that little kids do, like, you know, talk or make noise, have us lay down on the floor in a row and get a belt and beat one of us. And it felt like at times he was having fun with it, because he would wait for one of us to like let out a noise or cry or something, and then he would choose that person, and it looked like he quite enjoyed it. But my mother was always there to protect us in any sense, even if that meant that she got hurt in the crossfire. I don't want to cry, because you know, this is it's a very long story. So basically, we had always been in a very abusive household, and one day I just decided, you know what, I'm gonna leave. And so I left, and it wasn't the best idea, especially at 10. I got found, and they brought me home, and my dad was overseas at the time, and he came back. He beat me within an inch of my life, and because of that moment that happened, because I couldn't tell the police anything that was really happening, you know, I had to tell them, oh yeah, we're in a good household, you know. We didn't really have a choice of saying that we were in a situation, because he told us that he had people watching us, and if we said anything, then he would find out, and that he had cameras, and there were times where he would show us cameras of like streets, but I figured out later you can just get that kind of like thing online, and so we believed him. But he came home after that, and from overseas, after that situation that happened, and beat me within an inch of my life. And because of that, I have permanent back damage, and it makes it harder for me to really do much. And so yeah, fun stuff. Fast forward, so he comes back home from a really like short, I guess, whatever he was doing over there, overseas. And he stays home a lot. He doesn't really have a job at this point, and we're not really allowed to go anywhere except grocery shopping. And me and my sister would fight like who would go next, and you know, like I want to go with her to the grocery store because, you know, I mean, what kid fights to go to the grocery store? Only ones that can't go anywhere else. So yeah. And one day he told my mom, leave her here, I need to take her to the doctor because after she ran away I want to make sure she's okay. And my mom said, okay, yeah, that's fine. Then I'm gonna take he was gonna take my sister. And what happened was and this is very explicit, I can't get demonetized because I'm not making money period, but what happened after that was he took me to his bedroom. They already left, and I didn't know what was happening. Again, I was only 8 at this time, so, oh, not 8, so again, I was only 10 at this time, so, we go to his bedroom on his side, and he tells me to pull down my pants, and that he needed to check me because we couldn't afford to go to the doctor, and he was going to do it for us, and I'm like, okay, seems right. And I know that it sounds really stupid, but anybody that's ever experienced any kind of sexual abuse from a family member knows that that the feeling inside you is you trust this person. You know that they're not supposed to hurt you. Even if they are abusing you, it doesn't really register, especially when you're younger, and this is what you've grown up with, and you think, oh, he's only doing this because I'm being bad, and he loves me, so he doesn't want me to be bad. And, he tells me to pull down my pants, and I do, and pull something out of his drawer. I assume now it was some sort of lubricant because it was wet and it was there, and at that point I can't honestly pinpoint what he did, because a thing that happens with people that go through sexual trauma is you go to this thing called your happy place. And in the act of something happening to you that you didn't want to happen, you think of a specific thing or a place that brings you happiness, or that doesn't hurt you, like what you're going through at that moment. Excuse me, I am sorry. Some Taco Bell napkins. And you just go through it until it's done. He got a call in the middle of everything that happened and pulled me out of my place and what was going on, and basically my mother had hurt herself in the grocery store, so we had to go help her and bring her home. He told me, he said, this is our secret, you can't tell anyone, you know, like your mother would be upset because we couldn't afford to go to the doctor, so, you know, we have to be quiet. And me at 10, that made sense, because I'm like, oh yeah, you know, we had always struggled with money, so I never wanted to put that kind of stress on my mom, so I never wanted her to know about anything that was happening. And you know, we went, helped her, and didn't say anything. A few years pass, and nothing's happening then because he goes back overseas, and he's gone for a couple years. And I remember writing in a diary in like a secret code, because I didn't want anyone to ever find it, because he would go through our stuff, that he had hurt me, and I didn't understand in what way. And so I just wrote it down like that, and I threw away the pages before he came back because I didn't want him to figure out what I had written, even though I probably couldn't decipher what it was, you know, to this day. But he comes back and everything gets so much worse. You know, when he was gone, we weren't going through the abuse, we weren't getting hit, and we weren't getting beat or anything, and I wasn't getting hurt. So it was some of the best time because we spent it with our mom. Our other baby brother got introduced into the world, and he's a bundle of joy and one of the happiest things that ever happened to us. And it just started getting worse because we were in even more financial trouble, and he opened up a little restaurant / hookah lounge, and for a while he just focused on that. But he'd come home drunk and angry. My mom only slept at most 2 hours a night because she had a job to be able to pay for everything because we were going bankrupt. So she would go to sleep really like late after working, and me and my sister would take care of our little baby brother from the time that he was 1 month old until well, for a while. And my father would tell me to put everybody to sleep, make sure they're asleep, close everyone's door and everything. And he would call me to the living room and basically he would, I guess the right word is sodomy or sodomize, and it would hurt. And he told me if I made any noise, even though we were in the living room next to my mom's bedroom and just a little hallway away from my brother and my sister, that he would kill everyone. And I never wanted anyone to get hurt. And he told me no one would believe me anyways, but he also made it seem like it was something that was supposed to happen. He said, I'm trying to teach you how to be a woman. And so I couldn't really do anything because I was afraid if I told anyone they would leave and that I'd be stuck with it, and I didn't want that because we were all in a really messed up position where excuse me, in a really messed up position where we really just couldn't leave. We couldn't do anything. We didn't have friends. We didn't have internet access. We weren't allowed to watch like TV in certain ways. We weren't allowed to leave our place. And I got pulled out of school in the 6th grade. And everything just got so much worse from there. And I don't know why he did anything that he did. And I told myself, I'm like, well, he likes your long hair, so maybe if you cut it, he'll stop, or maybe if you wear the most covering things, he'll stop. But he never did, and it just got worse. And if it wasn't the sexual assault, it was abusing me and everyone else. And it just got to the point where one night it was the absolute worst. It hurt the most, and I was fully aware I couldn't escape to my happy place, and so I had to just deal with it. He tried to convince me to go to my room, like we could go to my room, and I said no, because I tried my hardest to say no, because I knew if we went in there it would be quieter and no one would be able to hear, and it would just get worse. I knew that if I went there it'd be worse. And the reason I was always okay with staying in the living room was I hoped somebody would wake up. I'd hope somebody would come out. But they didn't, because no one could. So, fast forward a little bit. I'm skipping big parts of everything that happened. But it was a lot. It was years worth of stuff. After that worst night, I had kept my underwear. I threw it in my cupboard because I couldn't wash it because it was obvious what was on it. So I thought I had thrown it away. But that's crucial to the story because I didn't throw it away, and that was that's a good key, like, bit of key evidence that happened later. He comes home one night. He's incredibly drunk. My brothers are no more than 4 and 6 at most. They're probably even younger, actually. I don't really remember. It's 2015. He comes home and he's really angry. My brother had fallen off a chair, and so he got really mad about that. And I had 3 brothers at this time. One of them does not really talk to us anymore, but he was in the story. My father started to beat everyone to the point that if we hadn't pulled him off, my brother, who was 15, 16, 17, about 16 at the time, he would have killed him. He dislocated my mom's jaw, he popped me in the ear, and I couldn't hear for a little bit. He gave my brother a black eye, and when my mom and I were trying to pull him off my brother, my mother said, she called my brother's name. She said, go outside and call the police, call for someone. And my dad got up and he started laughing at us. He's like, well, no one's gonna believe you. Like, what do you think is gonna happen to me? And he goes to the couch and he falls asleep. And so my sister was pretending to be asleep in the living room, which was good because that saved her. I'm glad she did that. And we all just went to my mom's bedroom and we just started crying on the bed because we didn't know what to do. Like, all of us, we were so stuck. My mother stayed with us because if she left, we were all in a lot of trouble. If she left, I don't think me or my siblings would have survived. But she risked her life and her well-being in order to protect us, and she did every chance she got to protect us. Even when she was pregnant, my God, he pushed her down onto the floor and hurt her so bad. It was horrible. Looking back at it, it was such a nightmare, and it's really difficult to talk about it because when I feel like I've come to terms with everything that happened, and it's been years now, I feel like I'm okay, but then when I start talking about it, it just gets worse. So what happens after that is my sister I had told her like a few weeks prior to this incident, and after the worst night, and so I told her, like, please keep my secret. I don't want anything to happen to us. And she did, and I'm proud that she did, because if it was told in the wrong moment, we probably could not have gotten out of there alive, because he was incredibly violent. He would go for knives, he would reach for his gun until it was taken away from him when he was driving with it illegally. What else? So we talked about it. I went to the restroom and my sister came out, and I told her, I looked at her like, should I tell Mom? And she said the thing, and I will always say this, she said, she asked a question that changed everything, and she asked, if that was your husband, would you want to know? And that was the game changer. I went inside and I told my mom, and she didn't not believe me. She asked me, she's like, what does he do? And it was the same things he was doing to her. Spousal rape is also a thing. If you're married and you say no and they still force you, that is rape. It doesn't matter if you're married or not. That's spousal rape. And that's a real thing someone could go to jail for. Just saying, in case you need to know. So I told her, and she believed me, and she's like, okay, we need to leave. And it was difficult, but we found a way to leave. Everything fell into place really well. He secluded her from her family, and her family had not heard from her in years, so they were a really big help, and I love them so much. Those are my family. And he got arrested on September 9th, 2015. He got arrested, and we were free. We managed to get out, and the trial and court date weren't until 2 years later, and I had to testify in front of him and in front of, like, not a jury, because he pled guilty, so there wouldn't be a jury or like a real trial, because he didn't want his face in any papers or anything. He didn't want to go through like the public part of that. So we went through that, and it was like a family kind of court thing, and the only people we told were allowed to be there were there. And We just testified and everything. I had to see him for the first time in 2 years, and that was difficult. He was trying to look at me and trying to persuade me not to say anything, but I just kept on going. I had an amazing lawyer there, and there is this group called Bikers Against Child Abuse, and basically they come with you, and they're used to like, so if you look at them you see safety, and to kind of like scare the predator, I guess. And they were amazing too, and I will never forget them because that was the safest I have felt in a really long time. And yeah, so after that he got sentenced to 40 years. I will put a picture of the article up here for you guys to see, because it was a lot. He got sentenced to 40 years because they could only pinpoint 2 days, and that is because I saved the underwear and I forgot I had saved it, but it was in the cupboard and I brought it to them, and also because they used a black light on the couch and there was plenty of evidence on there, but they could only pinpoint 2 days, so 20 years per day, and that was 40 years. But I just want to say, just because someone says you're not safe, I can guarantee you will be a lot safer if you tell someone, if you tell a police officer, or if you contact someone, a family friend. So if you tell someone, you are a lot safer than just not saying anything because you think you're protecting your family. Take it from me, I dealt with this for years. I dealt with this for so many years, and it could have ended up, I could have ended up dead. My family and I could have ended up dead. Whether it be, you're being sexually assaulted by someone you know and love, or if you're being abused by someone that you know and love, you need to tell someone. You just have to wait for the right moment, but don't wait forever. It will hurt you. And no matter how many times they tell you they love you, they don't. If they're hurting you and they're putting you through that, they don't love you. People are out there willing and able to help you and love you. You just need to remember that it takes a strength that you have to build first to get out of a situation like that you were not ever supposed to be in. No one should ever have to go through that. I will link some helpful lines down below. Suicide hotline, sexual abuse, domestic abuse, all those hotlines I will link down below. So if you need help, say something. Because if you don't, they could be hurting someone else. It's not just you. Because my father had hurt more people than just me. People he worked with. He had pictures and everything saved. He hurt so many people, and that all finally came to light after I said something. So please, if something's happening to you, say something. It takes a lot of strength and a lot of courage, and there are a lot of things that come after. Your mental health is not the best after something like that, especially being secluded away. I had no kind of social skills. I didn't know how to talk to people. I didn't know how to do anything. I was the most awkward person. I had a lot of triggers. Still have a lot of triggers, but it gets better. You either need to go to therapy, or you can talk to friends, or something that gets your mind building away from that. I never had real therapy, but I found that talking with friends and building myself up and motivating myself in school or my job made it easier for me. And while I'm not ever fully recovered, because you will never be fully recovered, that is always something that'll scar your heart and your mind. It's still good to try to get some help, at least a little. I joined a group and I talked to some people. I met some people who went through the same things as me, just a little different. Everyone's story is different, but some people are still in that situation, and you want to be able to help, and you want to be able to hear that there are people just like you, because you don't want to feel like you're alone. You are strong. If you have been through this, or you're going through this right now, you are strong, and you are stronger than you think. You can do this, and you can get out safely. I believe in you, and it's not your fault. None of this is your fault, because a big part of it is blaming yourself afterwards, and it's not your fault. There is nothing you could have done. But yeah, I just wanted to share that with you guys, because I do want to be able to start some sort of organization or something for victims and survivors of sexual assault and molestation, and I want to be able to build a community of people where they can share their stories and hopefully help someone else, because this happens way more than you think, and the amount that gets unreported is way more than you think. So yeah, thank you for listening to my story, and if you know someone, try to help them. Don't report them. Don't report it for them. Try to convince them to do it themselves. Sometimes if you report it for them, they can end up getting in more trouble or get hurt more than they would if they had done it themselves when they were ready. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for taking time to watch this, and just stay safe, guys.